Welcome back to Pete's Workshop. Today I need to introduce you to a new member of our family, my wife's Golf GTI.
I love it, it's awesome. I didn't want to come home, I'm sorry, I just want to keep driving.
So I picked up this 2011 Mark 6 Golf GTI just recently. It's a really nice car, it's in really good condition. It's got 178,000 kilometers though, so it's got quite high kilometers, but I suspect most of those kilometers have been highway kilometers. It's been well looked after and well serviced. It is due for a service though, so I'm just doing a transmission DSG service. I'm also doing an engine oil service as well. It also has a bit of a rattle from the exhaust. And while I was under the car doing the DSG service, I took a look at the wastegate. There is a very typical problem with these where the wastegate pivot point actually just gets very worn out and becomes very loose inside the turbo. At some stage we'll be fixing that problem and I'll show you how we go about that as well. There is also an engine leak on this as well, and I found that where it's coming from is this connector down here at the top of the DSG transmission. I've taken that connector off and there's actually oil inside where the pins are, inside that connector. I've done a bit of research and haven't really found anything definitive on the internet as to why that happens or how to fix it. So if anyone can offer any assistance on that, it'd be greatly appreciated. So the DSG service is not that difficult. Last time on my Jetta, when I did it, I actually just made a tool to remove the 14mm hex sump plug out of the bottom of the transmission. But this one was super tight and it's actually started to break this tool that I made just out of a mild steel bolt, so the bolt was just twisting off. So I did have to go and buy the proper tool, and that did the job perfectly, very easily. From the top of the transmission, you can see I've got the housing from the DSG oil filter. I've got that removed already. And I've pulled the battery out to make that easy to get to and easy to access. It also helps me just check everything else that I can find as well in here. Managed to get a new DSG fluid filter, and it's actually Swag brand. I bought it online, but glad to see that it's Swag OEM replacement filter. The new filter comes with a new O-ring that goes onto the filter housing as well, so be sure to pull the old one off, install the new one, just put a little bit of oil on it before you pop it back in position. I've just used a vacuum pump just to pull the rest of the oil out of the housing there, just to try and get as much oil out of the transmission as I can. There is actually a O-ring inside here as well, so this filter slips on the outside of that spigot, so just make sure that seal is okay, center it nicely and just push it down just like that. So I've got the new O-ring on, just a tiny little bit of oil put around there, so we can go ahead and pop that back in position. $20 Newton meters. Okay, so I've been draining this overnight. So the fill tube, just give that a quick check and make sure there's no grime on that. Also make sure the threads are good. I don't know if you remember when I did this on my Jetta, the threads were actually damaged and I needed to get a new torque tube. This one looks fine, so we'll go ahead and put it back in and then get ready to fill the fluid again. This doesn't have to be tight, so just really tweak that up a tiny little bit, and we can attach our fill tool. This is the transmission fluid that I'll be using. Penrite, it's an Australian brand. It's suitable for Volkswagen dual clutch transmissions. I've used this in the Jetta successfully, and I've just got this very simple pump. It's actually just an Aldi pump, but works really well getting the transmission fluid inside the gearbox. Doesn't work great, that pump, but it does work. So it took me probably 5 minutes to get that oil into there. But now I'm right to start the engine and get it up to operating temperature. Of course, I am going to have to put the battery back in before I can start it and put the air filter box and everything back in. I was hoping to try and clean all this up a little bit, which would be really nice, seeing as I've got such good open space. I did notice too, down here on this looks like some sort of breather, and I think something's missing off the top of it. So if someone can tell me if there's something missing off the top here, that'd be really good, because otherwise that looks like an open port straight down into the DSG transmission. That's got me worried a little bit. I'm going to be using the ODBeleven so that I can monitor the transmission temperature, get it up to 35 degrees, then we can check the oil level. So this is the ODBeleven Bluetooth dongle, and I'm just using a very simple Android mobile phone. So right hand drive Golf, the OBD port, it's down the bottom here, that purple port. Just plug that straight in. You can see the red light comes up on it. Now we'll start the car and get it connected. Okay, we've got the engine running. You can see all the dash lights are on because we've had the battery disconnected, but now we'll just go ahead and connect the OBD. Alright, I'm going to go and check the fluid. So we're going to torque this down to 45 Newton meters. Not sure if you can see here, but I've already changed the oil in the sump and the engine, so I've got a bit of a drip here. I have put a new crush washer on and I have torqued it to spec, so I'm a bit worried about why that's leaking. I did notice when I took the bolt out it had a bit of black elastic on it, so I might just have to keep an eye on this.